Hello, I want to talk about a case that dates from about 20 or 30 years ago. And my memory, this is from memory, and I'm not sure exactly of all the details, but I don't want to give specific details. But basically, the case involved one of a man of the cloth. He was a minister who was found guilty following trial of abusive behaviour towards young men, boys, children, sexually inappropriate behaviour, and really awful offences, really, against young men. And I really feel for the victims, absolutely. I recall that I had him for a short period of supervision, but basically he was the case belonging to somebody else. But I covered him. I think he may have come out on licence. I'm not sure if he was on probation or on licence, but I think he'd come out on prison licence. So our role really was to supervise him and to make sure that the public were protected from him. And we monitored his behaviour in conjunction with the police. So we worked closely with the police to protect the public. But what I recall was that he still maintained that he was innocent. And he maintained that he was not guilty of these offences that he had been found guilty of. That's awful. And so I said to him, well, okay, if you're adamant that you're not guilty, set it out on paper and let me see, what it is. See what your argument is, why you maintain you're innocent. And, he said he was set up and all this sort of thing. But he never did that. He never wrote out why he was innocent. But the main thing that I remember as well is that somebody like that is very, very hard to work with to address their offending behaviour, to help them go in a positive direction, to help them correct their bad thoughts, to deal with their offending behaviour. You need them to acknowledge their offence. Now, people that attend the sex offender programmes, now this was not my speciality, dealing with sex offenders, but I'm really proud of the work my colleagues did on the sex offender programs, because they worked really well and they successfully challenged sex offenders, and they got them to change their ways and to stop offending. And it was quite successful. But a prerequisite really before joining the program was that the offender had to admit their offence. And if the person's not prepared to admit their offence, there's very little offending behaviour work that we can do as probation officers. The other thing that really struck me about this case, and I thought was incredibly sad, was this man, he'd been a teacher and a minister, and he had a grown-up daughter in her early 20s, and she had some kind of nervous breakdown, and she drank too heavily, and her behaviour, she was found drunk in public. And I really feel that his offending had a huge impact on his daughter. And I'm talking about this because offences can really adversely affect not only the victims, but the offender's family also. And my heart goes out to the victims, and it goes out to his daughter, who really, really had her life shattered due to her father's unacceptable behaviour, So that's it. Anyway, a little aside is that I've been a victim, and I'll put a link to a video about that if you want to watch it. And it's coming up to Christmas time, but I remember when I was about 20, 21, I was working for a company, and we all got invited to a Christmas dinner And I was sitting next to the regional manager, watching my P's and Q's, and oh yes, regional manager, oh yes, yes. And suddenly this stocking foot appeared right next to my genitals and was rubbing my genitals under the table. And I kind of, oh, and I thought, where's that? And I saw this woman with a grin on her face, and I thought, oh, it must be her. And nothing came of it. All I did was I was completely shocked because the woman was in her 40s and I was in my early 20s. And I think I spent the rest of the evening hiding away behind a pillar and was not that impressed. But, you know, these sort of episodes of inappropriate behaviour, I'm sure, are far more frequent than, you know, and that's quite a minor one perhaps, but quite more frequent and tend to be men committing them against women. And, you know, for example, a number of sex offences that have been occurring, you know, inappropriate behaviour occurring on London transport, for example, on the tube and the trains has been going up in recent years. And, you know, this is all really, really worrying. So, but there we are. But I really feel for all victims of such behaviour, and let's nip that behaviour in the bud. That you know, it's just not acceptable. Anyway, all the very best and have a good day. Bye bye.